Three reasons why you're stuck in burnout and how to break free right now. Welcome back to another episode of this podcast. You may have noticed I've changed the name from the 4Q podcast to Burnout to Brilliance. This place is going to be a place where if you're burnt out, you're anxious, and you want to go, tap in every single week, get some guidance, and come back to the most brilliant, expansive version of you. Or if not go back there, at least tap into the vision, the idea. That is where we're going. Because your self-concept, your self-image, the way that you work on yourself has a dramatic effect on everything in your external reality, right? So today we're going to talk again around those three reasons why you're stuck in burnout, why you can't shift it, and how to break free from it now. Okay, so reason number one, you're overcommitting to everything. So burnout thrives when you spread yourself too thin. And now, if you haven't taken my personality quiz, you can go take it now. But my high achievers and my people person, those two personality types, tend to spread themselves way too thin because they do not know how to say no or set a boundary. And so the high achievers, their natural mode when they're feeling stressed or anxious is to go into work mode. They're not okay, let me just sit with this feeling and everything's going to be okay, or let me go distract myself. They're like a fixer and a doer, the high achievers. And many of you listening are, right? It tends to be the most popular personality that comes through on that quiz. And so with that, there is that, it's learning to not throw yourself into work when work is stressing you out, or not throwing yourself constantly into projects and ideas, but actually learning how to re-engage those emotions and sit with it. Same with the people person. People persons, that personality type really struggled with the idea of setting a boundary because they're really scared that that means that they have to say no to someone, and saying no to someone means they're not going to be likable. For the people person, human connection and relationships is the most important thing in the world, and there's a part of your identity that feels tied up in your relationships, which is why, unlike the other types, you setting a boundary and saying no is so hard because you literally feel like your identity could crumble if that person responds in the wrong way, or they don't take what you're saying how you want to say it, or whatever it might be. But again, remembering the people who benefit from you not having your boundaries are the people who are going to get most upset when you set them. I'm taking a second to pause here because I want you to really take that in. People who benefit from you not having boundaries are the ones who are most upset when you set them, because that means they're not benefiting anymore, right? And so, it's just remembering that is that overcommitting to everything isn't great and it's going to burn you out. So just because you're free in your schedule doesn't mean you're free. So making sure that it gets to the weekend and you're exhausted, or it's time to have some fun, it's time to have some play, right? You need to start doing things to connect and to do this and to do that, to really light your soul on fire again, because it's been a really big week, right? But then your friend says, "Oh, I'm moving this weekend. Can you please help?" Or, someone's like, "Oh, hey, can you help me with this? Or can you help me with that?" The people person, they're usually the ones who get asked anyway because people know you'll never say no. Even their other friends, if they have 10 friends, if your personality is a people person, they'll choose you because they know you're not going to say no. But this is what I'm saying is, like, if you're getting to the weekend and you're feeling that way and it's time for you to go have some fun or rest or work out or whatever the thing is, it doesn't mean you're available to help always. It's okay to say no. It's really important that people don't become solely reliant on you. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be those situations where if it's your mum or someone close and they really are reliant on you or something like that, it's a little bit different. But, it's making sure that you're not the center of somebody else's world and you're constantly overcommitting to that person because you don't know how to say no to them. Same thing if you've got a mother-in-law who wants to see you and your partner all the time, and you're like, oh my gosh, we just keep saying yes to all these social events when I just don't want to do anything this weekend. I just want to work out and go to the beach and eat some good food. You're allowed to do that. And in fact, you're going to have to learn how to do that as you elevate in your career, in your business. You don't have time for every single social event. You're allowed to be picky and you need to give yourself permission to be so. So that's reason number one. Reason number two that you're burning out is you're neglecting your personal boundaries. Now, we kind of touched on that, but I guess the key thing here is without your strong boundaries, burnout's going to creep into your relationships and it's really going to cause strain and resentment. So, what does boundaries in relationships mean? Again, using that mother-in-law example, maybe your mother-in-law, it has a very complex and connected relationship with your husband or your partner, and she wants to see you guys 24/7. There's always a wedding or a cousin's thing, or maybe you have kids and she constantly wants to come over to see the kids. And that's great. It's really beautiful that she has that love and connection with you. However, if it's bothering you and you don't say something, it's only going to damage the relationship rather than make it stronger. It's going to build resentment because you're not actually articulating how you feel and what you want. And so a boundary might be, hey, my beautiful mother-in-law, let's call her Martha. Hey, Martha, we really work a lot. Again, and you don't have to over-explain yourself. You're able to go, look, we need to be able to do fortnightly. We need to set that boundary. And here's the other thing. If it's your mother-in-law, just as a side note, whoever's family it is needs to set the boundary. So if it's his family, he sets it. If it's your family, you set it, right? Whoever's family is causing the issue is the one who has to address it. But so with your mother-in-law, you need to have your conversation with your partner and they need to have the conversation about boundaries with his mum or their mum, whatever that looks like. If it's with your own mum, again, you don't need to over-explain why. You just need to say, oh, look, we need to take a little break. We're going to do fortnightly visits from now, that kind of thing. And then if they ask questions, you're able to give an explanation, but you need to get practice in setting these boundaries, right? Same thing with clients at work. It's like, my boundary is I'm done at 3:00 because if I finish at 5, I need 2 hours to get all my paperwork done or whatever. But then one day you let them do 3:10, then it's 3:15. Then it's 3:30, like they're pushing the boundary over and over again. You just need to be solid. So even if you get an email at 3:01 or a text message at 3:01, be ruthless and go, my boundary is 3:00. These are the rules that you are setting for yourself. And if people can't abide by those rules, it means that they don't respect you. And if you allow them to disrespect you by doing the work at 3:15 when you've told them clearly this is at 3:00, you're disrespecting yourself and you're letting them disrespect you. And that's going to change the relationship dynamic. Particularly if you want to be someone who's respected and has good relationships, because think about it, the people that you're the best friends with or you really love in your family, you respect them. The people that you don't really like, you probably don't respect them or their opinions or who they are. So respect is a key part of having a really loving, healthy relationship, regardless of whether it's a client, a partner, a friend, a family member. So when you allow them to cross your rules, they are not respecting you and you're disrespecting yourself. Okay, so reason number 3 that you are burning out and you're stuck in the burnout and you want to break free is you're ignoring your own needs. Now, something I often say on my Instagram and on this podcast as well is burnout has 2 aspects. It's doing too much for others and it's not doing enough for yourself. And so it's really important to hold those boundaries we talked about and really implement a daily self-care ritual that's non-negotiable, no matter how busy you are. So, for example, it's like you're going to work out no matter what's on that day. Or, you always journal before bed. Rain, hail, or shine, no matter how tired you are, whatever that looks like, you set aside 10 minutes for yourself to journal. Even if your partner wants to talk to you, wants to do this, wants to do that, you say, look, this is my 10 minutes of time to myself. Other boundaries look like making sure you have a lunch break. Now, whether you're working for someone else or you're working for yourself, let's say you say, okay, again, with business owners, it's really hard because they don't give themselves a lunch break often, and then they wonder why they're burnt out. You've got to set your schedule up as if you're working, right? So you have a lunch break and you go 12 to 12:30 is my lunch break. Hold that boundary. This is self-care isn't just baths and massages and journaling. It's also holding boundaries for your own time. So 12 to 12:30, and then the self-care ritual will be chuck the phone away, right? Put the phone away, no emails, no phone calls, have a mindful lunch. Actually taste your food. Taste the texture. Go for that midday walk. Get a few steps in, move your body, get the blood flowing, get some fresh air. Get that vitamin D. Get out in nature for a second. Touch a tree. There's 2 kinds of people. There's ones that either touch nature and trees all the time, or one who's like, when was the last time I touched a leaf or a tree? Right? But I'm serious, is like, it makes a huge difference. You could be in the middle of the city, but if you go for a walk to the park, feel the grass, feel some leaves, take it in. There's actually those chemicals like we talked about, those photosynthesides that I cannot say that plants release that calm our nervous system. Vitamin D, a lot of people I know are deficient and it affects their mental health, their burnout, their capacity in their nervous system. So getting some sunshine on your lunch break helps the vitamin D. These are all the things that your self-care ritual doesn't have to be a 20-step thing. It's just making sure this is my time. Or you might have a 10-minute break at 10:30 every day where you have a cup of coffee, right? Have the coffee uninterrupted. Go sit with yourself. Be mindful with your coffee. Again, no emails, no phone calls, or you could even listen to your favorite song. 10:30 every day, you have your coffee and you listen to a tune that just it gets you. Maybe you create your coffee playlist that you do every day is a bit of a mood booster. Again, these little micro moments we're talking about here have a major impact on your nervous system dysregulation or regulation, right? So don't skip over it thinking, oh, what's 5 minutes going to do? Again, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Let's say you have a 5 or 10-minute coffee break at 10:30. And before that coffee break, your stress level might be a 7. But doing that coffee break takes you back down to a 5.5 or a 6. Now, let's say you do that 2 or 3 times in your day, where you have these little micro moments. Instead of ending the day with your stress level at a 9.5 or a 10, and then you end up blowing up at your husband, blowing up at your kids, or just sitting on the couch and doom scrolling because you're just so overwhelmed, whatever, you might actually end the day at a 6 or a 7 because these little micro moments took 1 point off, 1 point off, 1 point off. And so because you're ending the day there, you're actually in a much more regulated space to connect with your partner, connect with your kids, connect with yourself. Get that workout in. So this is why it's so important. So just to recap, before we finish up today, is the 3 reasons why you're stuck in burnout and how you can break free from that is now, reason number 1, you're overcommitting to everything. So your burnout thrives when you spread yourself too thin. And the action you can take is identify and cut out at least one non-essential task from your daily routine so you can have some time to yourself again. So don't commit to everything. Ask yourself, what's one thing I can cut from I'm going to say your weekly routine. Reason number 2, you're neglecting your boundaries. Now, we talked about this. So your action here is to set a clear boundary with at least one person in your life this week to protect your time and mental space. And then reason number 3, you're ignoring your own needs. So the action I want you to take is implement a daily self-care thing that you can do, some activity that's non-negotiable, no matter how busy you are. So if you tackle these 3 issues, you can really help break that cycle of burnout, because again, burnout comes from stress and anxiety, which we'll talk about another time. But if you want more support around your burnout, obviously we've got our Tranquil Trailblazers membership, which is in the links below. You can also connect with me over on Instagram or TikTok. Those are my platforms. And obviously you're watching here. And of course, if you want to work with me, check out my links, check out my Instagram, go to my website. But the best way is to just reach out to me. You can either book a free 15-minute call, or you can connect with me on Instagram and I'll talk to you about how we can work together, how we can work on not just the emotional side of things, but really implement a strategy so that you thrive both in life, business, and career. All right, beautiful souls, have a wonderful week, wonderful day, and I will see you in the next episode of Burnout to Brilliance. Take care.